Welcome back, everybody. What's up? It's Ari. What an amazing performance from Neil Francis. I hope you're enjoying Democracy Comes Alive as much as I am, as much as all of us are, the folks that live for live music and HeadCount. I'm joined by low-end luminary Oteil Burbridge right now, my man in Florida, the visionary bass player who you know from the Allman Brothers Band at Dead & Company. Hey, Oteil, great to see you.
You too, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. You got us hanging out in your studio room, in one of your practice rooms?
Yes, this is my little bitty uh, music room, and my wife tried to help me get some pictures up so it looks good when I podcast.
It looks great, man. And so do you. We're so thrilled to see you. And thank you for joining us here on Democracy Comes Alive. There's a lot at stake with this upcoming election. I'm curious, what are the issues that come to your mind when you think about what's at stake this November?
Oh my God, it's the same issues I feel like I've had for 30 years, you know? It just, I wonder if we're getting any closer to getting them. Well, we are. I mean, pot's been legalized in I don't know how many states. One of the biggest issues for me is always prison reform. There's there's two or three things that I think shouldn't be for profit: healthcare, um, prisons, and some form of education. There could be education that is for profit, but there should always be like as good as you can get education for in my book, um, that's free. And I feel like it's just our allies that have it that are capitalists, and they're our allies. It's a issue of patriotism. I mean, they give their citizens health care and education and a minimum wage job, a living wage. And if they can't have that job like in the pandemic, then they provide it until it's over because they're the sons and daughters of whatever country that is. And so it's just simple patriotism. Now, why I think uh, obviously, a bunch of Americans don't see certain people as Americans. Otherwise, every American would have all these things because they're Americans. Like, I don't know why it's so difficult to understand. And they want to call it socialism, but what about all our capitalist allies that do it? It's just a simple issue of patriotism. So those are the things that I think, but for some reason it's far-fetched and radical and communist and socialist and whatever else, dream, green new dream, like, okay.
Seems
And I
like
don't,
there's so much name calling going around. People love labeling things without getting to the root of it. And what you're talking about is spot on, man. It is patriotism, at its core.
I mean, that's why I don't buy it. Like, I don't want to accept any of the labels. Like, I don't even see that. I mean, I guess you could call it progressive or you could call it democratic socialist. You can call it whatever. To me, it's just common sense. Like, healthcare shouldn't be, somebody shouldn't lose their house because they broke their foot. What if they have a family? This is insanity, you know? But what they do is like they make it not illegal. Go, well, it's legal. Okay. Glad slavery, slavery was legal too.
Well,
Just
exactly.
because
Yeah.
it's legal doesn't mean shit. That's
Right.
what the Supreme Court is about, So it's just hard. It's really hard to see the change come. I wish Medicare for all would be in there, whatever you want to call it. Just everybody get health care and everybody get tuition. Nobody be sucked into a prison system that's going to make money off of them.
And
And
keep them in there.
yeah, now you can't vote, and then just it's crazy. We should have a living wage. It's insane. Our whole it goes back. The left is ruling, the right's ruling. Minimum wage stays exactly the same. So a lot of my frustrations with both sides. But we're at a particular moment here right now that's just absolute. There's no. Uh, this is a new moment, and you could say, well, there's a precedent for it historically, but there's not because of the technology.
Right.
So we're we're in a new unprecedented moment that's really scary. And so we gotta try to work our way out of it in every category, and voting our way out of it is one category that we got to try to do too. You know, I want to also march my way out of it and podcast my way out of it, and a lot of different things. But voting, you got to try. You got to at least try.
Yeah, for sure,
So,
man. It's true. It's true. I'm curious, what are some of the things that you've learned leading up to this election? I know you've been doing some research for the podcast. Comes a time, which is great, by the way, and we're really loving it and enjoying it. What are some of the things that you've learned informationally about, voting and democracy in this process recently?
uh, probably more just how to um, look up a lot of the local stuff that's going on. You know, I've always had a hard time with that, and then when we had Andy Bernstein and Mark Brownstein on from HeadCount, it was just like, dude, get a sample ballot and get on Google and do the footwork and just like,
Yeah.
just do it, Like I've always lived in different places and I don't know who's what, and it just all is like super confusing. I'm just like, don't be lazy, you know? Um, and that's sad to even admit that, but that's one of the things that caught my eyes, like, just simple things. One thing that I saw about the mail-in ballot that I thought was really crucial, and I'm not sure it's in every state, but I'm pretty positive it's in most states. If you get your ballot mailed to you, you don't have to mail it back in. So you don't have to trust the post office to get it to where it's supposed to go. Just get it to you, get it to yourself early, and then go drop it off in person.
Yep.
Just drop it in the box, see ya, and then you have it's more of a insurance that your vote's going to be counted.
Yeah, for sure. I think HeadCount's recommending 14 days in advance to get that thing in the mail and send it off. One thing that I learned was voting early in person is an option in so many states, and HeadCount has a great resource to look that up. I mean, that's how I'm planning on doing it safely, masked up and all that stuff. But that's another great option to get out there and cast your vote.
Absolutely. And I think, HeadCount is such a great resource for that. Like if you don't know, just go to that one place and you'll get it sorted from your state, your county, your city, whatever. Like that's the way to go.
Yeah, and the presidential election has become so much pomp and circumstance, and it's really because there's so much pageantry involved, at this point. But I'm so glad that you brought up the local level and all of the different facets of government and legislation, because it really trickles all the way down to your local community and your kid's school and the world that you interact with on a daily basis.
Yeah. Even stuff like the census. I was watching Killer Mike, and it's just like, yeah, you got to be counted if you want to be counted. Like it's
Yeah, that's it right there.
it's very basic. Like you got to put your name on the list. So and that stuff is really important.
Yeah, yeah,
Filling
for
out
sure.
it's basic stuff. So that's all. A lot of it is just going back to the basics and and trying to do what we can, and hopefully we will be able to maintain some sort of peace
Yes.
till and through election day.
Yes, fingers crossed, most definitely. I mean, it's wild to think about how far we have come, though, since the Constitution and, with women's suffrage and people of color. And there are steps being taken in the right direction. Hopefully, as you mentioned, we can accelerate that process of development and fairness and equality and equity.
Yeah, and we have to accelerate it. This is, normally, you could deal with kind of the glacial pace of evolution, but we're out of time for a lot of this stuff, man. We're running out of time for ecologically, economically, uh, we can see politically, spiritually, like uh, it needs to be faster. It needs to be faster. And I really don't like talk about going back to normal. I'm like, what delusion are you living in? You know, I guess it won't be till the stock market bottoms out, then it'll be like, okay, now we can put that going back to normal nonsense to bed. You know, there's not going to be going back to normal, you know, even just from the pandemic. You know, if the
Yeah.
market doesn't crash, you know, a lot of things have happened since the market crashed, you know, that are not, I mean, is manufacturing just going to come back all of a sudden, you know, like, so we really, I'm, that's the drum that I'm beating, is for like faster change. And that's a hard thing, because for human nature is that it doesn't really happen until it's too late, like until your ass, there's a fire, your chair's on fire, you're like, ah! So,
well, our chair's on fire, everybody.
The chair's on fire,
yeah,
people. Like,
totally.
But some people still don't believe it.
Oh, man. Well,
man.
I think, you know, part of this whole experience with the pandemic is people realizing that what we once thought was normal actually really isn't. And there's a lot of holes in that theory, and a lot wrong with where we were, and, you know, what we perceived as the status quo and regularity just isn't when you look a little bit closer.
So I should feel hopeful because of that, because, you know, there is a lot of evidence, like these people marching worldwide. Right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
so,
sir.
Okay. A lot of people are seeing this change needs to be faster.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, good. Let's keep it up. Let's multiply that. You know, let's put that energy into your voting. You know, let's take that energy and put it into everything.
Everything, for sure. And one thing I want to talk about while you're here with us is the podcast, because you've been putting a lot into that. It's been really enjoyable to see those conversations and experience those moments that you're having with all your guests. What are some of your takeaways thus far from Comes a Time?
You know, it's amazing because I thought, you know, a lot of these conversations are conversations that Mike and I have with each other. And I'm just like, we need to say this stuff, you know? And we just think about, it's such a great opportunity to be able to call friends, or even people that are not, you know, they're not friends of mine, but maybe Mike knows them. And then some people he doesn't know, I know, but then we can have these conversations in this kind of format, long form, not like on Facebook where there's a fight starting out, or there's a character limit on Twitter, whatever, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
we could just really get into it long form. And I mean, you know, but this technology, everybody has their own TV station. So it's just a rare opportunity, and it's really helped me out a lot. It's helped both of us get through the pandemic, and we've helped each other get through it personally. And it feels good to be able to try to like extend that out from us. It's like, hey, if it's helping us, it's got to help other people too. So we're always glad to hear when people write us that it does, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we hope you keep it up, and we're really excited, you know, for what's to come with Comes a Time, and whatever you're working on at any time. You know how excited we are. I'm curious, before I let you jump, Oteil, what would you say to fans out there who are a little bit hesitant about participating in the election? Because it sounds like, you know, you've got reservations about both sides, but you do understand the importance in participating at this point.
Well, I mean, you know, I think it's like we were talking the other day. You just have to use some common sense about it, right? So if you're truly pessimistic, I look at it like if Mike is there and something happened, let's say he got shot in the leg, or a bear bit part of his leg off, right? Or leg out, a big chunk out of his leg. And you're like, oh my God, okay, he could bleed out quick, right? So if I have to, I'm going to take off all my clothes and ball them up and just stuff it in there. Like, whatever. That's the first thing I'm going to do. Just try to stop the bleeding. And then we got to worry about how far are we from a hospital, or where we do whatever we could keep him alive, you know? So if you're, now I could be a pessimist and say, man, that sure is a lot of your thigh missing. And that looks like an artery that spewing part, I don't think you're going to make it, man, and then just let him die? Or am I going to like find something and ball it up and stuff it in there and then try to get to the next, level, which is to the hospital and to the next thing. And so you just got to do everything you can. And how hard is voting? Like, what is that costing you? It's not costing you like $500. You go somewhere, you put a smudge of ink or lead on a piece of paper that costs like less than a penny. Like, come on. Like, we're talking about serious stuff here. Serious stuff. So it's the least you could do. I don't even know how to talk to someone with that kind of apathy or that level of pessimism. And I think both sides are full of it. I just am so frustrated with both sides. But there's a big chunk out of the leg and the artery's going. So
Yeah.
we need to get this country. We need to stop the bleeding, man.
Wrap it up, man. We all do. We all do. And for those of you out there that are challenged, in that situation, HeadCount has a great spot on their website for you to check out that explains how to talk to friends who don't vote or who don't want to participate. It's got great information, some quick, quips and one-liners just to make people think.
I know they make it hard too. Like sometimes I don't want to discount people and like, oh, they closed all these polling stations and now I got to stand out here for 12 hours. But I get it. That's some bullshit. But there's other ways to do it.
Yep.
And HeadCount can show you those ways. So you don't, you gotta like, it's war, man. Like if you want to play like that, then you have to fight back, and then you find another way to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Our future is truly at stake, and this is one easy, seamless step that we can all take together. And I'm so thrilled that you're here to help us shed some light on it. It's wonderful to see your face and talk to you, man. We can't thank you enough for jumping onto the stream here at Democracy Comes Alive, Oteil.
Bless you, bro. I'm really honored to be asked.
For sure. Let's turn up the funk right now. This is a collaboration from the guys in Lettuce and the Motet as our music continues.